Hi everyone, I'm Nicole Turnbull, the co-director of the Psychosocial Safety and Leadership Institute, and I'm super excited to be chatting with Charlotte Jameson from Wellbeing Gets Real. We're going to talk about who Charlotte is, what Wellbeing Gets Real offers, why this work matters, and how you can connect with her if you'd like to learn more. Charlotte, thank you so much for being part of the collective.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. And I was speaking to you earlier. It's such a fantastic thing what you're doing. It's as I said, it's one thing to really have the dream, but it's another thing to execute. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, hats off off to you for actually driving this and making it happen because it's really special to be able to be with other people and learn from them and grow with them. We've got
It is.
important work to do, and yeah, we need to band together. So
We
yeah.
do, and it makes it more enjoyable to get to connect with people like you. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. But for people who might not have met you before, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah, sure. So I do have a formal study psychology background, but I also have 20 years of practical experience in the workplace. So really the interest in psychology was sparked back when I was 16. I was
Mhm.
at a talent camp for hockey and we had a sports psychologist come and speak to us. And he spoke to me. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Imagine if I could do that. Imagine if I could just touch people in a way that like inspired them to be their best version of themselves. And I thought that's what I'm going to do. And so from 16, I've been passionate, mildly obsessed about learning and growing and psychology. So I always had a passion for positive psychology,
Mhm.
really understanding what's working and let's do more of, not so much clinical side,
Yeah.
what's wrong and that sort of thing. So yeah, I went off to uni, and while I was studying uni, I was also studying massage therapy because I
Mhm.
have this, body mind, idea that they're all connected. And certainly with my sports psychology, if I was a massage therapist,
Mhm.
that would be a good in to a sports team. Um, but then I came across an organizational psychology subject and I was absolutely rapt. I was like, this is really cool. This is sports psychology, but in corporate world.
Yeah.
And so I decided to work with corporate athletes instead. And yeah, I sort of launched into that. And I ended up in the heavy industry, working in construction heavy industry,
Mm.
because I was volunteering with a disability centre, and I was just sort of seeing the ripple effect of what disability did for people, their own lives, their families, and the communities. And I just sort
Mm.
of thought, why? Like, if you could choose not to have a disability, if it was a choice,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you choose that? And so I,
Mm.
I got very impassioned about safety and let's do things to switch our brains on so that we can be safe
Mm.
every day. And that took me into the construction industry, which was fantastic. And started off in the safety department in the safety world. And the focus was very much physical safety.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that developed into psychological safety, as well as the industry kind of grew. They sort of recognized, okay, it's not just physical, it's also mental.
Yeah.
And so I was really fortunate to be in a specialized position working in FIFO.
Mm.
And I was working in the mining industry. And I was doing a lot of psychology behind safe behaviour with the frontline workers, with the executive teams. We were talking a lot about neuroscience, how you can switch your brain on to be
Mm.
safe. And then we sort of started to morph into a bit of like, well, well-being, is really important, and mental health, and working with the leaders there to kind of help engage other people and what that looks like. And then when I went into professional services with Deloitte, we were really talking about culture transformation and this concept of being safe to be well and well to be safe.
Mm.
And yeah, that was really fantastic. We were really helping people think of the values and really the behaviours that actually drove those values, in order for people to be well to be safe and safe to be well.
Mm.
And yeah, so that's kind of been my journey. And then I decided to do it all by myself. And so just as COVID hit, in fact, that's when I went out by myself, which actually was quite fortuitous because everyone wanted a wellbeing webinar or,
Mm.
something online.
Yeah.
So it was quite easy to set up a business. Not easy to homeschool and manage a 2-year-old and all that,
Yeah.
which is actually where Wellbeing Gets Real was born.
Mm.
Um, Instagram was full of all these wellbeing, fantastic offers of like, hey, let's all focus on this. But I was thinking, gee, you've got some time to be able to be doing all that. I don't have any of that time or any of that capacity to like do any of this. And so I came up with this concept of let's get real about our well-being. And it was about tiny nudges and tiny habits. Because well-being doesn't have to be this huge grandiose thing. We don't all have to be yogis on a rock,
Mm.
eating, I don't know, vegetarian food the whole time. It's not about that. It's about feeling good and functioning well. And so, what can you do in your typical day that actually you can tweak it just a little bit just to get, I think is it Dan Harris who talks about 10% happier or something, 10%. And it's that concept. It's really about just shifting the dial just a little bit every day.
Yeah.
Because if you eat, if you have a chocolate biscuit with a cup of tea, like once off, that's fine. But if you do it every single day, it actually makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
If you take a breath every time you boil the kettle or something like that, once off, it's a bit like, so it doesn't, I mean, it helps, but it's not really anything. But if you do that every single day or twice a day, it can really start to make a difference. And so, just little nudges. And that's where really this my whole business stands on this idea of what is realistic? What can we do? Because business, it's only the pace of work is only getting harder and faster. Even with the introduction of AI, we think, oh, we've got a little bit more time. No, because it's like, well, you can do more now.
Yeah.
So, which is unfortunate, but that's another discussion for another.
Yes.
It's really about this idea of, okay, how can we help organizations shift this style of psychosocial risk, which is my real focus at the moment. Or it has been for a few years, really. I mean, psychosocial risk it's not new. It's it's not a new thing. We don't suddenly, have all these new hazards that we have to look out for. We've always had to look out for bullying or change management or job demands, but it's now legislated. We now have to really really think about it. And so working with leaders specifically to say, hey, if we actually have quality connections with our people, we can actually decrease that risk of psychosocial hazards, because when you have a really functioning relationship, you can have great conversations about job demand. You can really be on the same page. You can have these one-on-one check-ins where people can feel really psychologically safe. And even with change management, even if you don't know what the change is, you can have those transparent conversations and people are on the journey with you. And so through my art of connection model framework, I really talk to leaders and take them through on the job learning, so to speak, of how you can respond in ways that are going to actually build that psychological safety and help shift that dial on psychosocial risk.
Yeah, I love that. And it's always so interesting to hear people's story and how they get to where they're at. It's always so unique. And just hearing yours it's an incredible journey of where you were at 16 to where you are today. So thank you for sharing that. And Wellbeing Gets Real makes so much more sense now.
Yeah.
Not that it didn't before, but just to hear the values behind it and the reasons for that. There's also a few people in the back of my mind that I need to connect you with as well. There's a lot
Oh,
of
great.
alignment with a few people as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And are there any other services that you wanted to share that you offer in Wellbeing Get Real?
Well, I do generally like general wellbeing services.
Yeah.
So, a focus on strengths, or
Yeah.
there's a specific focus for parent wellbeing, which
Hmm.
was very popular during COVID, post-COVID. Everyone was sort of like, let's look after the parents. And so I have a framework called the Karma
Hmm.
Wellbeing model, and that really has positive psychology, mindfulness, act mindfulness, all entwined in this framework. And it's a really applicable framework for people to kind of choose. It's like a buffet. Okay, I'm gonna focus on karma. So C starts for compassion. Okay,
Hmm.
I'm gonna focus on compassion and not have to focus on anything else because they're all interrelated.
Yeah.
All the pillars.
Yeah.
If I focus on compassion, well, guess what? Um, my sense of joy is going to increase, my enjoyment, or my relationships are going to increase, and so it's sort of just focus on one area, and
Yeah.
you'll get the benefits somewhere else.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's the Karma Wellbeing parent offer. There's general sleep fatigue, or
Mm.
anything sort of general well-being is kind of
Yeah.
what I've been doing as well. So yeah.
Fantastic. And what makes your approach or your services unique?
Well, I focus on the neurobiology of
Hmm. Yeah.
so and I think this is really, it started off with my study in massage therapy, of this understanding of the body
Yeah.
and how that's in mind. And then, of course, with the introduction of polyvagal theory by Steve Porges. So not, you don't necessarily have to know about polyvagal theory, but it's an interesting understanding of our nervous system and
Mm.
how it really does determine the way that we kind of think about something. And a lot of it is unconscious. So our autonomic nervous system is
Mm.
continually scanning, and it's continually saying, pardon me, am I safe enough? Or am I in threat? Is this person safe enough? Or do I feel in threat with this person?
Mm.
And we don't necessarily know that, but we can connect to that feeling.
Yeah.
When we have that feeling with someone, and we've got that kind of standoffish feeling, we're like, well, I don't know about this person. Well, that's our threat response.
Yes.
Or the environment. I don't know about this environment. It's feeling a bit, dicey, and that's our Stephen Porges calls it our neuroception,
Mm.
which is basically, all our senses and our body, coming together, going, not safe, not safe. And of course, when we're not feeling safe, we don't have access to our prefrontal cortex,
Hmm.
because we, as Dr. Dan Siegel says, we flip our lid. And I'm sure a lot of people have seen this hand model. It's become very, very popular. But it's this idea that we've got our limbic system down here in our primitive part of our brain, and our prefrontal cortex, at the part which is responsible for planning and for having rational thoughts, being flexible, and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And of course, when we're not safe, we tend to flip our lid, and then we're operating off this limbic system, which, when we're a leader, it's not very effective.
Yes.
It's not very effective because we don't necessarily have compassionate conversations.
Mm.
We're talking about accountability. And now a leader needs to keep people accountable. And I'm
Mhm.
very strong about that. This is not about a soft approach. This is about, well, how do we keep people accountable,
Yeah.
but in a way that they feel safe? And so
Mm.
we have to bring that safety first, so that you're not triggering at that threat response from them.
Yeah.
Because emotional contagion is real.
It is definitely.
Yeah. So I remember having a boss once, and they just, anytime they came into the room, it was a whirlwind. It was just
Mm.
an absolute hurricane of, I don't know what. And they'd leave, and you'd just be left there going, what was that? And what am I supposed to do with all of this? And it wasn't helpful, and it didn't make me feel in control of,
Mm.
it wasn't a good thing for me. Um, and I can see it when my husband comes home as well. If he's in a stressed
Hmm.
kind of mood, the whole house changes. So
Yes.
40% of his stress immediately gets rippled onto us. And
Mm.
um, and so I think having that awareness is really important as a
Mhm.
leader,
Yeah.
or as a colleague, to really go, okay, how am I impacting other people? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, my approach is really unique because it really starts with this idea of having awareness. So the art of connection model starts with awareness. And we talk a lot about nervous system and how to work with our vagus nerve, something that really yeah helps regulate our nervous system. And then really practical. Well, how do we respond in a way that's going to increase psychological safety? So
Mm.
lots of framework and models from my 20 years in the field, cherry picked of what works best.
Yeah.
Yeah, taking people through those really practical ways of things like how to actually actively listen, uh,
Mm.
scarf model. So David Rock's scarf model. How do you keep people accountable or have
Hmm.
discussion around job demand that is making sure that people's status and certainty and autonomy and relatedness and fairness feel like they're being
Yeah.
listened to and attended to. So
Yeah.
lots of that. And then of course, tiny habits, tiny connection habits at the end of
Hmm.
Art of Connection,
Yeah.
because where wellbeing gets real and we get real. It's never one and done. It's never
Yeah.
just a finish. Yeah, it's always a messy process where you've got to keep going to the gym. You can't just lift one weight. You have to keep lifting those weights and yeah, seeing the results and flexing when you need to, when people move on or the organization takes a different kind of view or yeah, track. So yeah, so that's how I'm unique in the way I offer, and also I offer on the job type learning. So a lot of the trainings that I've done in the past have been great. Here's the 2 day the 2 day training, which is fantastic, and you can get such a good shift from that.
Hmm.
But I also, the embedding process is so important afterwards. And so my approach with the master classes for the art of connection is to really go, okay, let's have an hour for this week and then see how you go implementing things. And we can touch base during that week. And then the next week we'll focus on something else. And it's really on the job and it's really embedded into your everyday rather than just this big sort of dump
Yeah.
and good
No.
luck with that. Enjoy
Yeah.
the rest of the real life.
Yeah. And
So
just on that as well, what kind of organizations or leaders do you most enjoy working with?
the ones who are on board,
Yeah.
the ones who get it, the really when the CEO, so the CEO really is the culture, is the one who holds the
Mm.
culture
Hmm.
card, and the decisions that they make, it really does ripple down.
Mm.
And so if the executives and the CEO get it and they know what's needed, they're the fun organizations to work with because they really, yeah, they want to, they keep getting you back because they know they know, so it's worth it. But they know,
Yeah.
yeah, they know what you're doing there and that sort of thing. It's hard to work with people who kind of just want a bit of a tick and flick. It's
Hmm.
it's just doesn't sit right. So
Yeah.
yeah, I prefer the ones who really care.
Yeah. I love that. And that would align so closely to the work that you do. It wouldn't be an add-on, it'd be, part of that. And
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of people probably listening to this going, well, how do we get in touch? So what's the best way that the community can connect with you and learn more, or anyone else who's listening to this?
Yeah, so my website has, it shares a little bit about, who I am and what I do. So wellbeinggetsreal.com.
Yeah.
It's very easy. And I'm on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
So there's, I'm always sharing interesting things that I've read or come across on LinkedIn. That's under Charlotte Jameson.
Hmm.
So if people just search that. I've also got an Instagram account that I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with because I sometimes think it's really great to have Instagram because people can learn all these things and it's really fantastic. But I hate being on it and I hate,
Yeah.
so I don't have a good strategy. I only post when I have the vibe, um,
Yeah.
which is not always at the moment. So there's my podcast. So yeah, Instagram is Wellbeing Gets Real as
Yeah.
well.
Fantastic.
And then my podcast that is ready to be launched very
Hmm.
soon is Leading with Connection.
Hmm.
That's where I talk with like-minded souls, leaders who have made some great ways of connecting with their teams,
Yeah.
great ways of shifting the dial on psychosocial risks by, having team meetings in a particular way or a particular time, or just sharing some really good tidbits about what they're doing in real life. So I get to have chats and sit down with people like that. So yeah.
Fantastic. And I'll add all of that to your digital profile so it's super easy for the community to connect with you. But just want to say before we jump off to thank you again for being part of the community. It's all about that, us working together to be able to raise the bar, and you're such an incredible addition. So thank you for coming on board and working together to help improve safety for all workplaces across Australia.
Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.